Okay, introductions are over, explanations have been made, and it is now time to start the Eye Candy Juneteenth Special Edition. Here is our box of candies just waiting to be unwrapped. First up is John Boog's. This is a quote. "This film is about letting go of your fears, traumas, and anxieties. 2020 has been a tough year on all our mental health. Taking time to release some of that stored trauma from the body can be liberating to the spirit." John Boog's is a movement artist, choreographer, and director who has choreographed for the likes of Mikhail Baryshnikov, Naomi Campbell, Gloria Estefan, and many other luminaries. Together with his friend and fellow dancer choreographer Lil Buck, who we'll see in the last slide of today's presentation, he is the founder of Movement Art Is. MAI seeks to create a choreography that seamlessly blends disparate styles of street dance into an art form that can inspire and change the world while elevating the artistic, educational, and social impact of dance. Chicago-born artist Harmonio Rosales says her striking portraits speak to the part of her that has been the least represented in our society. Much of her work is linked to her Afro-Cuban background. Quote, I empower women of color through art that challenges ideological hegemony in contemporary society. The black female bodies of my paintings are the memory of my ancestors expressed in a way to heal and promote self-love. Although she often utilizes religious iconography, Rosales says she hopes instead to give her viewers a sense of healing and affirmation. This painting is titled Compromise. Bisa Butler makes her portraits using colored and patterned fabrics that reimagine and celebrate narratives of Black life. She often works with photographs as source images, old photos of African Americans from the 1930s and 40s. She describes her artwork as a Black family's quilted photo album depicting both well-known and unknown figures. Butler sources fabrics for her quilt creations from Ghana, Nigeria, and South Africa, choosing different fabrics and colors based on the story and message she wants to convey. The New Jersey-born and based artist's works have garnered widespread acclaim, and Butler has exhibited across the United States since the early 2000s. In 2020, her debut solo show opened at New York's Katona Museum before traveling to the Art Institute of Chicago. She literally paints with fabric. Chukwudi Onwumere was the Art Photography Awards winner for 2022. He was brought up in Nigeria. His photography often employs the use of colors, shapes, shadows, and textures to explore the aesthetics of everyday life and socioeconomic topics. His work peers at the foundations of society, the labor that forms it, and the people behind that labor. The people in his pictures sell their wares, hustle for those sales, and build from the ground up as high as they can imagine. What's next? Lalise Stamps. This woman is a very creative potter. I'm going to read you from her website, and as you'll see, I have literally taken her Instagram feed and uploaded the whole thing to this presentation. Founded in 2017 by Lalise Stamps, Lolly Lolly Ceramics focuses on objects that are functional, unique, and handmade to last. In September 2019, Lalise embarked on a 100-day project where she made 100 mugs with 100 different handles for 100 days, bringing national recognition to the Lolly Lolly name. Today, the Lolly Lolly team is made up of 4 people and growing. The demand for Lolly Lolly Ceramics is high, but we're having a fun time expanding our brand and bringing you new and exciting pieces. Lalise lives and works in Milwaukee, and I am amazed at the level of creativity. Every mug here is completely unique and wonderful in and of its own self. Born in Ghana, Otis Kwame Kaye Kweko now lives and works in Portland, Oregon. A bright, bold palette is the artist's preferred method for translating emotional states, inner lives, and idiosyncrasies, one he emulates with the richly textured impasto backdrops surrounding his subjects. Kweko is currently a resident at Rubel Museum in Miami, where he's created a trio of monumental works that consider the trope of the American cowboy. These portraits stand 12 feet high. Wangechi Mutu's work engages with the natural world to address ideas of historical violence and its impact on women, mythology, ritual, and their inextricable relationships with their ecosystems. In September 2019, the Kenyan-American artist was commissioned by the Metropolitan Museum of Art to create 4 bronze sculptures of African women collectively titled, "The New Ones Will Free Us." The seated women are nearly 7 feet tall and were the first works of art to fill the niches of the museum's Fifth Avenue facade since the building's completion in 1902. So that's quite an honor. In a video interview on the Met's website, they say that Mutu's intent was to stage, quote, "a feminist intervention." The facade commission, arriving as it did in the run-up to the 150th anniversary of the Met's founding, heralds the commitment of Max Hollein, its director, to expand and amplify dialogues with contemporary artists. These sculptures, individually titled The Seated 1, 2, 3, and 4, are dressed in coiled garments and feature polished discs on different parts of their heads, crowned, blinded, and gagged, and born of traditions of both European and African. These graceful, commanding figures change the face of the museum literally and figuratively. She uses a lot of clay and earth in her works, and they have a wonderfully organic feel, as you can see. Beginning with a line drawing in pencil, U.S.-based artist Ruth Miller renders hand-embroidered portraits based on photos. Her wool tapestries and thread drawings create expressive depictions that use the material's texture to enhance light and shadow. This is a quote, coupled with realistic drawing, that tiny amount of physical depth brings the images closer, giving them a more immediate sense of presence. In the months that they're still in my studio, the stories they tell become more concrete and nuanced in my mind, just as they would in a steadily lengthening conversation. Miller's works are often life-size and take months to complete, a process she details on her website. What will be remembered in the face of all that is forgotten is a sculptural neon work by the New York City-based artist Tavares Strachan. The 5-foot-tall piece includes pulsating neon that mimics the racing of blood through veins, stainless steel to hold the skeleton in place, and a total of 7 transformers. The flashing circulatory system is a glowing reminder of English scientist Rosalind Franklin's contributions to the field of science, mainly the discovery of DNA's molecular structures. The work was originally included in a solo exhibition called Seeing is Forgetting the Thing That You Saw, which examined individuals whose names have been omitted from common accounts of history despite their great accomplishments. Strachan, in partnership with LACMA Art, plus Technology Lab and SpaceX, also recently launched a sculpture honoring Robert Harvey Lawrence Jr., the first African American to train as an astronaut with NASA. Although Lawrence never made it into space, the 24-karat gold urn with his bust, titled Enoch, will orbit the Earth for 7 years in a sun-synchronous orbit. This is an artist that probably all of you have heard of. Kehinde Wiley is an American portrait painter based in New York City who is known for his highly naturalistic paintings of Black people, frequently referencing the work of old master paintings. He is perhaps best known for being commissioned in 2017 to paint a portrait of former President Barack Obama for the Smithsonian National Portrait Gallery. Wiley has earned global acclaim for his heroic portraits, which address the image and status of young African American men in contemporary culture. His pieces, many of them are enormous, and this one, for instance, is 15 feet long. Morel Doucet is a Miami-based multidisciplinary artist and arts educator and calls himself a cultural draftsman. Quote, "My work explores the cultural disparity of self-realization, assimilation, and transnational identity as a Haitian immigrant. I explore narratives of vulnerability, isolation, and alienation within various cultures across the globe. Within the vocabulary of indigenous art and my dreams, I create whimsical forms resulting in a diary of self-mythology that reflects the current state of Black fragility." Most of his pieces are made from porcelain. These are slip cast and hand built of porcelain. Here they merge flora and fauna into dense amalgamations. This is a quote, "He not only considers how humans are damaging the environment, but also who is most likely to suffer in the process. In the series White Noise, when raindrop whispers and moonlight screams in silence, He responds to the impacts of the climate crisis and ecological disaster on communities of color in the Miami area. Willie Cole is an American sculptor, printer, and conceptual and visual artist. His work uses contexts of postmodern eclecticism and combines references and appropriation from African and African American imagery. The New Jersey-based artist juxtaposes ready-made footwear and African tradition in this series of sculptural masks. The figurative assemblages stack women's heels into clusters that are expressive and distinctly unique. And what really wows me here is that these are nothing but shoes. He hasn't needed to use any other filler material. The Ghanaian artist Amawako Boafo has built a practice emphasizing the ways that art both reflects and perpetuates the power of representation. Exclusively portraying individuals from the diaspora and beyond, Boafo invites a reflection on Black subjectivity, diversity, and complexity. His portraits are notable for their bold colors and patterns, which celebrate his subjects as a means to challenge representation that objectifies and dehumanizes Blackness. He was named one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people in 2020. His work has been acquired for the collections of the Guggenheim Museum, the Los Angeles County Museum, and many other prestigious institutions. Jay Blattis is the well-known face of The Repair Shop, a long-standing BBC reality series where folks bring family heirlooms to be restored to their former glory. Each episode follows professional craftsmen from around the country restoring pieces that have been found through social media. He's also the owner and creative director of Jay & Company, an online furniture business where vintage pieces are sourced and then imaginatively restored to a more contemporary look. This is from his website. As modern furniture restores, we take old pieces, inject them with invention, and create something which gets people talking. A better result for your furniture and our planet. This is a very broad overview, eye candy that is, so I don't usually get into any background on the artist, but his is so interesting. He's one of 26 children his father sired in different countries around the world. He has severe dyslexia, which wasn't diagnosed until he was 31, and because of that, he didn't learn to read until he was 51. His life of dramatic highs and lows reads like a novel and has been made into a memoir, in fact. He wrote this, I'm not sure the year, but it's called Making It: How Love, Kindness, and Community Helped Me Repair My Life. Nick Cave creates sound suits, surreally majestic objects blending fashion and sculpture that originated as metaphorical suits of armor in response to the Rodney King beatings and have evolved into vehicles for empowerment. Fully concealing the body, the sound suits serve as an alien second skin that obscures race, gender, and class, allowing viewers to look without bias toward the wearer's identity. Cave regularly performs in the sculptures himself, dancing either before the public or for the camera, activating their full potential as costume, musical instrument, and living icon. Photography-based artist Tawny Chapman's guilt-embellished work emphasizes the value inherent in her subjects, whose joyful, tender expressions and gestures exude warmth and affection. Chapman's work has been purchased by the Minneapolis Institute of Art, as well as by Beyonce Knowles and Alicia Keys. In 2018, she was named International Photographer of the Year at the International Photography Awards. Demond Melancon, aka Big Chief of the Young Seminole Hunters. Over the past 5 years, Melancon has developed a contemporary art practice using the same beading techniques he's applied over the past 28 years to the making of Mardi Gras outfits. His work has been exhibited at the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, Art Miami, and the International African American Museum, among others. Melancon is the leader of the Young Seminole Hunters, one of many groups whose members spend months sculpting elaborate suits that they'll wear during Mardi Gras to honor the roles some Native Americans played in the liberation of enslaved Black people. When the day comes, Melancon is no longer himself. He's the Big Chief, a title bestowed on the leader of the tribe. Melancon's suits can weigh 150 pounds and consist of millions of tiny glass beads. These portraits, by the way, are more or less 12 inches in height. And here he is on the day, or maybe the day before, rehearsing. Artist and photographer Kalita Garcia Rawls investigates the myriad possibilities of water with paintings distorted by bubbles, pockets of air, and ripples reflecting the light above. She suspends black figures in otherwise imperceptible moments, like the pause that immediately follows a fully clothed plunge into a pool, conveying a vulnerable and fleeting interaction between her subjects and their surroundings. Many of her paintings depict figures in billowing gowns or collared shirts in white for the color's association with virtue and purity. Her work has been featured in exhibitions at the Norton Museum of Art and the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. She created the cover for the Ta-Nehisi Coates debut novel, The Water Dancer, and is in numerous public and private collections, including Los Angeles County Museum of Art, Dallas Museum of Art, and the Studio Museum in Harlem. And it's almost hard to believe these are paintings, but they are. Born and raised in the Bronx by Jamaican parents, Kim Dakers works with disassembled tires reconfigured using screws and braiding techniques. The Harlem-based sculptor layers these objects, the tires most often found from vehicles and bicycles, to build sculptures inspired by real people, creating muscle, bone, skin, and even hair from the source material. Dakers emphasizes how society treats Black people in the U.S. and around the world. So often, she notes, communities might fail to think about the pressures, the burnout and stress marginalized groups experience. Using tires, rubber, and metal sculptures, she showcases the range of emotions people of color face, thus helping to redefine viewers' perceptions. This boundary-pushing menswear label is shaking up gender norms in Nigeria. That's the headline from a Vogue magazine 2017 article. Papa Oyeyemi is the founder, creator of Maxi Vive. He has a reputation for polarizing the Nigerian fashion community, pushing the idea of androgyny that turns traditional menswear tropes upside down and inside out. Papa started his brand at age 15 from nothing to a global brand. This that I am showing you is the Maxi Vive Spring 2022 Milan show, interspersed with some little floating insets of the Maxi Vive Fall Winter 21 show, which was a digital fashion show. It can be hard looking at the clothes when the models are so beautiful. Next up, Woody Diothello. Woody Diothello was born in Miami to a family of Haitian descent. While he still calls Miami home, his name is becoming recognized around the world as one of his pieces is currently in the Whitney Biennial. And it'll be there till September 5th if anybody wants to see it. In March of this year, the New York Times published an article about him titled Woody Diothello's Extraordinary Monuments to the Mundane. For the past few years working in Richmond, California, he's been working with ceramics, constructing intentionally wonky, semi-anthropomorphized sculptures of everyday household objects. He reimagines household objects, a remote control, faucets, imbuing them with a spirituality he finds in everyday environments. Some of these pieces are a lot larger than they appear in this presentation today, which you'll see in a minute. Yanni Davis Guibinga is a self-taught Gabonese photographer who currently lives and works in Montreal, Canada. His portraits question the diversity of the African continent and its diaspora. After 3 years of practice, Guibinga's work is beginning to focus on themes related to Africa. His work consists of decolonizing the representation of Africa by challenging stereotypical Western ideas. His portraits examine African identities through the intersection of gender, sexuality, or socioeconomic status. This is one from his series, The Darkest Color, where his models were painted black and set in front of a matte black background. The work seeks to unpack the negative aspects of both the color and its symbolism. He has previously focused on fashion photography. In 2013, artist extraordinaire Theaster Gates acquired a 20,000 square foot abandoned bank building for $1 from the city of Chicago and set about to restore and transform it. Gates chose to preserve several details of the bank's history, including peeling paint and damaged ceiling tiles, to physically merge the past and present. The building was crumbling from top to bottom. The roof collapsed, exposing the interior to snow and rain for years. It would have been torn down like so many other decaying buildings in the area had the artist, urban planner, University of Chicago professor, and Chicago resident not saved it from the wrecking ball. To help fund its refurbishment, he salvaged marble components from the structure and crafted them into 100 rectangular blocks he dubbed bank bonds. Each block was inscribed with the words, "In art we trust," and he sold them at that year's Art Basel for $5,000 apiece. The building is now called the Stony Island Arts Bank. It opened in 2015, and this is a slide of the library after its transformation. Here's the exterior of the building, which was unchanged. The building is now a site-specific place for exhibitions, commissions, artist residencies, and it's a home to the Rebuild Foundation, a nonprofit organization founded by the artist that seeks to foster culture and development in underinvested neighborhoods. In addition, the Arts Bank houses the vinyl archive of Frankie Knuckles, regarded as the godfather of house music, and the personal magazine and book collection of John H. Johnson, founder of Ebony and Jet magazines. In a press release, Gates described the Arts Bank as an institution of and for the South Side, a destination for artists, scholars, curators, and collectors to research and engage with Southside history. And this is our last slide. If you'll remember at the very beginning, I referred to Lil Buck, choreographer, dancer, living in Los Angeles, and here he is performing his choreography to Nobody Knows. And this is a quote: "There are things I've experienced in life that are hard for me to verbally speak about. Things that can't be said through words, but can be expressed and felt through movement and music. As a child, there was nothing that made me feel more than dance and the church choir. It filled my soul and gave me hope for life and times when I used to ask myself if my life was even worth living. With so much trauma in the world and in our lives, we all need something to help heal us. For me, simply reflecting on the sounds of my childhood church choir reminds me of how powerful our voices can truly be, whether it's the many voices of protesters fighting injustice or the voice of movement. This is my voice."
This is a mean world to try to live in. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. If only you could see what it takes for me to be, for us to be, to live with only a concept of free. I wish you knew. I wish you knew. If only you knew.
All the troubles I've seen.
This is a mean world to try to live in. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. If only you could see what it takes for me to be, for us to be, to live with only a concept of free. I wish you knew. I wish you knew. If only you knew.
Nobody knows all the troubles I've seen. Nobody knows all the sorrow. Glory, 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 hallelujah.
I still want to know you. Do you?
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. No, no, no. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. No, no. Glory, 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 I've been viewed and I've been scorned. I've been talked about, yes I have. Just as sure as you're born. This is a mean world to try to live in. But you've got to stay here until you die. Without a mother, no, 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 no.
Juneteenth special edition. I hope that you've loved the artists. What you've seen is by no means inclusive, but it gives you a great idea of the incredible work that's being done. So it's time to close the candy box and say goodbye, and hope that you will come back again next time where we will have all new flavors. Goodbye.